All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It's episode 54 of the Samurai Brothers podcast. And Matthew, I've got my camera issues fixed. There's a simple matter of settings, so I'm glad that we have that all sorted out now. But the latest chapter of One Piece is out, and also Sumo has started. So we'll be discussing those, and then we'll close out today with the MMA debut of one amateur wrestler, and quite a successful one also. So we'll get right into that. So we'll start off with day one of the Nagoya Basho. So Matthew, the Aki Basho. It's September this, and then only one more Basho to go in the year. And with that being said, not a lot of major stories as of right now. Obviously, Koto Shoho won the Yusho in a surprise turnout from July. Ono Sato went 11-4 in his debut. Hoshoryu had to drop out after 4 days of unimpressive performance from that time. And but everyone's back. The only people that were out in the Sekitori ranks for injury was Endo and Takeda Fuji. And it doesn't sound good for Takeda Fuji. He really messed himself up in the last Basho, right, Math, based on your observations?
Yeah, I think the report I read was a ruptured bicep.
Yeah, so
I'm really worried that, it's like he had all the potential when he made his Makunouchi debut, but I'm really worried that his career is going to be hampered by injuries.
yeah, because I think he has yet to make the Sanyaku ranks, and obviously now he's not, because he's going to be back in the Juryo.
Yeah, he has yet to make the Sanyaku ranks. It's gonna be, if he competes next Basho, it's gonna be a minimum of 3 Basho if he does well, because after that first, it's like after that first Basho when he went into Makunouchi and then he went back to Juryo and then made it back into Makunouchi, he hasn't exactly had the best record. And it's not that he isn't competing well, it's that for some reason the matches just don't go his way.
Yep, that's right. Well, with that being said, as of day one, I would say that a number of the matches of interest, Shishi, who escaped demotion to Juryo on the basis of not enough Sanyaku. So he's M18, but he lost to Daiseisan, who's in Juryo. So not a great start to Shishi. I think in a lot of the games that I was playing for this Basho, I predicted him to go Make Koshi, which is not surprising at all. Tobizaru, who was injured last Basho, he got a win. I don't know if you saw that match with him and Shonan Naomi, where they were dancing around. And
that was one of the most impressive matches of the day.
That was my favorite match of the day.
Yeah, it's like he kept turning around. It's like he had to make like 3 circles or something like that.
Well, yeah, because Shonan Naomi was doing a dashi nage on Tobizaru, but I think that just Shonan Naomi didn't have a good enough grip to eventually force him out, because Tobizaru would spin around and nut, and he had enough momentum to break Shonan Naomi's grip on his Mawashi. So that was one.
3 times.
Yeah. Daisho, back from injury, he won, and he actually beat Fujinokawa pretty easily. So, like you had mentioned before, we should expect Daisho to do very well this tournament now that he's back from, and especially being in the lower half of the division. So he probably will at least be in the early running for the Yusho.
Well, yeah, because he was sitting up in Sanyaku for a good while before.
I can actually look that up, but go ahead.
Yeah, he was sitting in Sanyaku for a good while before he finally was able, before that injury happened, and there was points where he was making a run for
Ozeki.
Ozeki. So
yeah, so he had been in Sanyaku, that's Komosubi and Sekiwake, for a full year before last Basho. So he was kind of on his way to, doing something. I think if he had not been injured and had been able to, do well last Basho, he would have been on an Ozeki run this Basho. But, things don't always go as we figure they will. But it is what it is. Now, with that being said, what other stories do we have? Uda also back from injury. It was an interesting. That one was a wrestling match.
yeah,
That was wrestling, Mongolian wrestling. And so that was, and then Kusano, who was part of the Yusho race last Basho, drops his first match, which and then Koto Shoho, who won the Yusho, was beat by Wakamoto Haru. Takayasu loses his match. Kirishima makes a statement against Oho. Very strong performance, very strong Yorikiri. I think he's very motivated this Basho to try and make that drive back to Ozeki. I think though, what was his? Yeah, finished 11, 4, 8, and 7. So he's not really anywhere yet. Because an 8 and 7 is not looked favorably upon during an Ozeki run.
yeah. I don't know. See, let's see. What was his? What's it called? His
Records?
Oh yeah, I was gonna. Well, yeah, I was gonna
Well,
say.
he went 11 and 4 in May, and then he went 8 and 7 in July. So even though he's at 19, it's still not a great, again, having an 8 and 7 in there is not really a fantastic thing on your.
And at 19, he would have to basically get a 14. He would have to
Yeah.
do. He would have to get. He would have to get a 14 record.
Yeah.
And so
Maybe he might do it. Who knows?
I mean, he could. I mean, he could maybe set up this Basho for
Next Basho.
for next Basho. Let's see. Let's see. What's the best tournament he ever did? A 13 and 2 is his best. Was his best, and that was one of his Yusho. So
yeah, so he has the potential. We'll see how it goes. I guess the only Kotozakura, Hoshoryu, and Onosato all won their matches. We'll get to them in a second. But so the only real, I guess you could almost say, surprise of the day was Wakataka Kage, who lost for the first time to Hakuoho. So that's already a dent in his run for Ozeki. So he doesn't have a lot of wiggle room from here if he wants to try and make the top rank. I think I predicted him to finish at best 10 and 5. I kind of get this feeling he won't get there, so I might be right in that aspect.
well, and again, he might be in the same position as Kirishima, where he's going to have to set up for the next Basho.
Yeah, like a 10 and 5 would keep the hopes alive. 11 and 4, he'll make 33. Again, well, let's see how he goes from here. Anyway, Kotozakura really did not have too much trouble dispatching of Abi, although Abi did attempt the last second dance on the Tada, but Kotozakura had stopped himself enough that he didn't have to worry about stepping out before Abi. Hoshoryu, Tamawashi. Now that was a close match. However, if you look at the replay, because Kinta Mayama thought that at least that match deserved a mono-e, which I would not disagree with him on. But if you do look at the replay, Hoshoryu, because when Hoshoryu was falling down and it looked like his arm was going to touch first, but he somehow managed to kind of bring his arm up so that Tamawashi's leg touched the dohyo first. But it's just this split second thing. Also, I think Tamawashi was flying too. Like he wasn't in any real like defensive or position to try and, turn the tables in my mind. So I think that's where they felt that there wasn't really a need for a review because Hoshori was the aggressor. He did that Watashi Komi. Although I think he was a little bit rocky, a little bit rusty. Don't you think?
I mean, I think he did pretty well, but
yeah,
I do agree. It kind of deserved them. It might have deserved a mono-e, except that in the slow motion you see that Tamawashi clearly lands first. So
yes. Onosato, and Onosato wasn't in any real danger in this match against Aonishiki. So Aonishiki trying to, it's his Sanyaku debut. See how he does. Will he have a superb basho like this basho, or could this be the sign of that maybe the momentum stops? We'll see.
So here's the thing. We all know that Aonishiki goes in low, and so Onosato figured out, it's like he goes in low. I need to get him out of his low stance, but not everyone's going to have that ability to do that. Onosato has the physical characteristics to be able to do that. No, people in the last however many basho that Aonishiki's been in in Makunouchi haven't been able to figure that out yet. Not even Hoshoryu. Then again, I think he only went against Hoshoryu the first time this last basho. So Onosato is one of those guys who was able to figure him out. But yeah, I don't think everyone has that ability.
All right. So with that being said, I mean, obviously it's only day one. However, we do our predictions on day 1 and day 8. So Matthew, I'm going to go first. I think that, at least in my mind, that this person is somewhat ready, is healed up. So I'm going to say that at least my day 1 prediction for the Yusho is going to go to Hoshoryu.
I'm going with the other Yokozuna.
Onosato?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, we'll see how this goes. And again, we'll be giving an update once day 8 rolls around, which is next week. And it'll be, September is here. Only 2 more basho to go. So it'll be interesting. Right. With that being said, let's run right into One Piece, shall we?
Yep.
So, quite a lot. I think so. First off, with the cover story, Yamato is looking on a shrine dedicated to Oden and his companions who had passed away. Well, actually, I guess Oden's shrine is overlooking the flower capital. So that's how that looks in the cover story. With that being said, it looks like we see that there are several members of the Davy clan. And I think overall, let me just skip ahead really quickly because
I'm not sure if the 8 is including Teach and his mother, or if there's 2 other people, but I'm counting a total of 8 on the stage.
On the stage, but if Teach and his mother are also on the stage, then they're deducing that they are also of the Davy clan. Now, here's something. Kind of skipping ahead to the next page. The MC of the ceremony is saying that there's 13 super rare rabbits. We've already introduced the 13 super rare rabbits. So I'm assuming that even though you only see 8 on the stage, I'm thinking that there's 13 members of the Davy clan that they're going to hunt. That's my assumption. And then obviously all these other people, all the other inhabitants of God Valley, 150. So here's the thing, and it's, again, this is Oda's ability to really put a backstory to characters and give them more depth. And I think we see how this type of event would traumatize and warp Teach's mind and his way of thinking about everything.
Especially at a young age.
Yeah, especially at a young age like that, because he's probably at this point, he's probably only 2 or 3, I think, because that's based on the
Yeah, but that's early enough to remember the trauma of it.
Yeah. So, again, though, it doesn't really excuse what Teach has done up until this point. However, again, there's a lot of gray area we can see here.
It's one of those situations where they're kind of the world government is kind of reaping what they've sown.
Yeah, because they probably, any of the world government leaders that allowed Teach to get into like the Shichibukai, they probably didn't realize that, they probably don't know that he was there at the time, because God Valley doesn't exist in world government records. So that's one way that I would look at this. And then we do see that Shanks and Shamrock's mom has asked Dragon to save them and not have them be taken by Garling. And then it is confirmed that she passes away from her injuries here. So I think
yeah, and then there's a little thing about I forgot. Mars is the guy who Garling replaces, right?
No, Saturn.
Yeah, Saturn. There's that little conversation between Saturn and
Garling.
Yeah, Garling.
Yeah, because he says it was simply an act of fate, which I'm wondering that he found them by accident, I think.
Yeah, it sounds like he just so happened to go to God Valley for whatever reason.
Well, because he was trying to get him in, he was trying to get access to the resources, and then possibly, what was it? Because I think he tried to negotiate them getting into the world government.
Yeah.
And I think what happened was because he said the negotiations fell through, meaning that I'm figuring that they probably didn't want to join the world government. And probably when he was there, obviously he got with the girl. But then probably during that time is when he also somehow found out that the Davy clan was there. And I think then, in his case to the elders for, the tournament, the hunting tournament, is that it was probably way easier for them because it's an unaffiliated country and it's got people that they've been after for centuries. It was way easier for them to then, how would I say, choose God Valley as a locale.
Yeah. Something else I'm gonna point out is that you were guessing that there were 13 members of the Davy clan.
Mm-hmm.
That they chose as super rare rabbits.
Mm-hmm.
you forgot Bartholomew Kuma.
Ah, yes, the Buccaneers.
So
Yeah.
it would be 12 members of the Davy clan and a Buccaneer.
Yes, you're right.
And they also mentioned there's 150 rare rabbits.
Yeah, my guess is that it's the inhabitants of God Valley.
Oh, aren't there more than that in God Valley?
Probably.
I feel like there have to be normal rabbits as well.
Yeah.
So there's got to be. So I don't know how they chose the rare rabbits as well. Maybe they were the other prisoners like Ginny and Ivankov.
Yeah.
That they dropped off.
And we can see here, though, that obviously Oda is really turning up the tension on this because he's
also making it very clear how evil the nobles are because they're literally killing men, women, and children.
Yep.
There's no
quarter.
No quarter. They're just going out there. They see someone, they're shooting.
On these weird. And then obviously, yeah, there are people who are watching at Marie Joie because they're taking bets and all that stuff.
It would make sense that not all the world nobles would go to.
No.
Yeah, they would send their quote unquote best. So basically, the least lazy.
Yeah.
So of course, when you're riding on well, to be fair, they don't look. To be fair, these world nobles don't look overly fat.
Well, no, because again, what we've seen, and especially with the the God Knights, and not all the world nobles are in those suits. And I think there are probably even some family members that are they're not God Knights, but they don't want to be, they probably don't care about being in the suits or not. Now what we see here is we do see another family name mentioned, the Bavette family. We'll have to see if there's anything that comes up from them. But the Figerland family is in the lead. The Bavette and Manmayer families are in close pursuit. Now here's an interesting detail that is mentioned by some in a discussion with some world nobles. How Gunko she's still the knighthood's pet, devoted blade of God. So we have another title or epithet to Gunko. So I think it'll probably be interesting to see what'll come up with that. But here she's, taking people out with her arrows.
And it looks like whatever there's some kind of jail in which the Marines are keeping under orders are keeping Shakuyaku.
Yeah. So then Dragon is faced with a choice because he's seeing the turmoil, the destruction, and death. If he defies the celestial dragons, then he says that his entire platoon will suffer. But he does end up tranquilizing a world noble.
Oh, that's what it is. I thought he shot him. Right, because he had tranquilizer rounds.
He had tranquilizer rounds, and you can see that the world noble is sleeping in the panel. And then, just when everything is starting to be really bad, the Rocks pirates show up. Now, here's something that I think confirms that even Newgate looks like that he had feelings for Shakuyaku, because he said, obviously they're all like they all want to get to Shaki. And Captain John mentions Shaki's going to fall in love with whoever gets the most treasure. And Newgate's response to that is, "You have fun with that. I'm just concerned about my friend. And if she falls in love with me, well, I'm not complaining." So, I don't know. There's a little bit of nuance in there, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Also, and I think this explains, Strusen mentions that Wang Zi stayed behind on the island, which I think would explain how Wang Zi ended up being in charge of Full Aled Island for the next 20 some odd years, or
Is
actually
because he went
30
there,
some odd years.
Rocks Pirates.
Well, yeah, because nobody.
Disbanded, and so he was the highest level on there, so he just maintained order.
Well, and I think another thing was it was his way of not really being. So I think he was banking on that if Rocks took everyone else there and didn't come back, then his secret of having been the informant would stay that way.
And it sounds like it stayed that way because the only people that know for sure is Wang Zi, whoever was alive, and us, the audience.
Yeah. So
well,
that would
also of note is the fact that Gloriosa is still banking on her. She's not going to save Shaki for the sake of their friendship. She's going to save Shaki to try to impress Roger. She's got the love sickness bad for him.
So
it's like, Roger, you've got a beautiful woman throwing herself at your feet, and you're going for the woman who's not interested in you. She's interested in your friend.
Yeah, and of course, you know, in the case of
which makes me still wonder how does which makes me still wonder how does what's his name? How does
Roger?
How does Roger end up with Rouge?
Which I'm sure is a whole nother. I don't think it'll.
That's not good. Yeah, that's not going to come up in this. And in fact, it may never come up because it's not important. We just know that in between the time that Roger became the Pirate King and he was executed, he met Rouge and fathered Ace with her. So, and then in order to avoid you know, her and Ace or Ace dying, she carried him another year. What, total of 20 months? So she carried him another 11 months.
So we're going to start running short on time here. So I do want to finish up this chapter before we segue. Dragon did find Shanks and Shamrock and then in the midst of the chaos, he's taking them away. And then all the celestial dragons are moving to the center of the island. And then we see that the Roger Pirates have also landed. So now we're getting into, now it's a three-way because it's the world government against Rocks and Roger.
So what's a really interesting thing, they show the God Knights in at least at the time in detail, and there's this really interesting dude in the way back of them.
Yeah, you're right.
That guy looks like he could be. He's not human. I don't think he clearly is not human.
Yeah.
So that kind of adds into questions like what are the God Knights, or if that person is a God Knight from a noble family where they're non-humans in the world nobles, because we've only seen humans. But
well, you know, there's all sorts of races in the in One Piece.
Yeah, it's we've got.
Well, and also, actually, if you look in detail, he might also have wings.
Yeah, I do see a wing. Well, then another question is that actually him, or is he just in devil fruit form?
That's another possibility.
Yeah. So
anyway, Roger Bully proclaims that he's going to rescue Shaki. None of you have a shot. Focus on the treasure, but then they all trample him. Take Shaki back. Garling can't focus on the game. So yes, like you said, the God Knights. I count here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them. And Gunko, it almost sounds like Gunko's not a god knight yet. But maybe she is, because I think they mentioned that.
Yeah, I think Gunko's a god knight at this point.
But she's devoted blade of God, so I don't know. Not sure about that. But anyway, pirates are landing. And just so it looks like Rock's pirates are kind of gaining an advantage, like they're beating up on the Marines and stuff. But now we have another faction joining the fray, because we see a couple of explosions happening thanks to flying thrown cannonballs. So here it is,
From
Vice
Garp
Admiral
to
Garp.
Fist.
Yeah, Vice Admiral Garp from Garp's fleet. We also see Bogart mentioned. So man, that means he's been a while. He's been around for a while too.
Well, we don't see him mentioned. We just see him.
Yeah. So that means now we have the God Knights, we have the Roger Pirates, we have the Rocks Pirates, and we have Garp's fleet is what's said on here. So
yeah, but the Marines are kind of aligned with the God Knights.
Well, and he's going after Roger. We know that for a fact because that's what he mentioned in the previous chapters.
And then we know he's going to team up again with Roger,
which will be an interesting thing here too. So, there is no mention of when the next chapter's out, so we could be on for a break next week from the manga.
It could be 2 weeks. It could be longer than that.
Yeah, because it's not known at this point. I'm hopefully though they'll post an update as to when it will be releasing after next week. So we'll see. So we have about 4 minutes to go. So
let's mention one thing. So the amateur sumo world championships were this last weekend. We do not have official results yet. So
we can discuss that next week.
Yeah, we'll discuss how Team USA did. Yeah. And as has been the trend, hopefully the women did well. But and there's still a certain rival of mine who I still think has the potential to eventually be a world champion. It's just a matter of him getting it together. So we'll see how that goes.
All right. Well, with that being said, Matthew, Gable Stevenson of a lot of different, sports, obviously two-time NCAA champion, Olympic gold medalist in wrestling, and a WWE participant. Of course, obviously the huge story from this last NCAA wrestling season was his rivalry with Wyatt Hendrickson, which ended up with Wyatt pulling out what was undoubtedly the upset of the season. But with that being said, Gable decided to transition to MMA. And Matthew, I know that you saw the full match. I did get to see the clip of how it ended, but so we have about probably 3 minutes to go. So Matthew, if you want to kind of go into detail about how the match went.
So basically, they went out, they were standing for a bit, and then Gable Stevenson took them down and just started
grounding and pounding.
Good old-fashioned ground and pound.
Yeah.
Until the ref came in and
yeah, I didn't really see that Gable landed any major major hits. But the thing was that his opponent really was just turtled up.
Yeah, wasn't progressing.
Yeah, so I think and he probably got maybe a good 10 shots in before the match was called.
Yeah.
So obviously really great takedown.
Yep.
In that sense. And he really looks like if he were to land some punches, he could do some serious damage. Don't you think?
Yeah, he's the type of guy who I don't know if he's got the power of Brock Lesnar, for example, but remember Brock Lesnar, when he once hit in his fight with Heath Herring, just from making contact, he sent Heath somersaulting backwards. So I think we've got some potential here.
Yeah, because even though they didn't connect to the face or the crucial points, it's just watching him throw those punches and the other guy defending him. It's like it's probably lucky that his arms, didn't suffer any fractures or anything like that.
Yeah, Gable Stevenson is like he's got power behind it. So
Yeah.
we will see how this goes.
Yeah, but I think for him, I do think it's a good I really hope he'll have success because I don't know, sometimes it's the whole thing with WWE, you have to really be more of the entertainer type along with the athleticism. And I think just that when he was trying to break out in WWE, I think it was just not as recognizable a name,
Yeah, not to the general population. He
Yeah.
was known to most other people, but he just
Like wrestling, combat circles, which is a sizable number, but it's like, is it really, to
Yeah, well,
mainstream audiences?
one thing we have to remember if people try to use Brock Lesnar as an example, Brock Lesnar got into WWE because of his amateur wrestling, because of his his NCAA championship. He didn't, and then that's how he was such a star, is because he was in WWE before he went to MMA.
Yeah.
He just so happened to be this big, buff, athletic guy who was able to, who was not a pro. It wasn't like what happened with CM Punk. CM Punk was a pro wrestler. He essentially was a guy who was starting out from scratch, didn't have a combat sports background. Brock Lesnar already had a wrestling background before he went into pro wrestling and then went to MMA.
That being said, thank you, Matthew. We will all tune in next week, everyone, for day 8 of the Akiba show. So take care.